Hey, this is Toe2 Bravo, and today we're going to do a video on some of Palmetto State Armory's different varieties of barrels and upper combinations that you can purchase from. Number one, right here, is the Palmetto State Armory 1 and 7 5.56 PTAC barrel and upper assembly. Number two is the Palmetto State Armory 1 and 7 5.56 Freedom Line nitrated barrel upper assembly. And number three is a 5.56 NATO 1 and 7 magnetic particle tested chrome lined Palmetto State premium barrel and upper assembly. Alright, we'll start off with some of the finish differences on the barrels. The PTAC upper is kind of a dull, lackluster, not uniform, kind of a grayish black, maybe looks a little Parkerized type of finish. You can tell it's definitely not their best work, but I mean, it is a very affordable barrel and upper. And the markings on the barrel engraved in the barrel there, if you can see that. So that's pretty nice. Number two, the Freedom Line. First off, a big difference is the markings are laser etched. They are not engraved in the barrel. The barrel is more of a black, uniform, shiny appearance. Not dull like the PTAC. Overall, the quality looks very good, standard across the barrel and the upper receiver itself. There's really no big transitional difference in the coating. We will go back to the PTAC real quick and touch on that, and you can see that the dull black gray finish does extend back to the upper receiver also. And number three is the premium line. So it's a very uniform black grayish finish, extending back to the receiver, but overall the finish looks very good. And the premium line also has the engraved barrel markings. So you can definitely see some visual differences on the finish and how the barrels are marked between the three lines that are represented here. So between the three different models represented here, it most certainly looks like they all are using the same front sight. So we'll move back to the receivers. We'll start with the PTAC. PTAC receiver on this side has no markings at all. But if you flip it over, we have the raised marking of a square, and I will look that up as far as what forge did this upper after the video, and I will insert that. So there is a clear forge marking on that upper receiver. It is also T-marked. The Freedom Line rotated onto this side, again, no markings. Rotate it over, and it also has the raised square forge marking as the PTAC model had, and it also has the T markings. The premium has the markings for Palmetto State Armory on it. We rotate it over, and it has the A for the forge marking there and no other marks. So, and it also has the T markings. You can see them underneath the scope there if you look hard enough. So I don't know that the forge markings have that much to do with it. They're all done to a mil spec standard, but it is kind of cool to see that they are in fact marked with the forges that they came from. Quite honestly, besides the coating differences between the three models, the upper receivers are probably, exactly the same as one another. So you're really not losing or gaining anything there other than the coating, which I won't take away from that is very important. I mean, you can see the definite difference between the PTAC coating and the other two models there. Okay, next we will go below the handguards and we will measure the barrels to see if we can get any measurement differences with the barrels. I'll be right back. Alright, we're back and we have the handguards removed. Let's take a look at these barrels and see how they are profiled. I can see a visual difference on the PTAC model here right off the bat. So as we come out of the receiver, you can see that the neck portion of the barrel here from the delta ring forward is much more shallow than it is on the Freedom line and the Premium line. You can see that the neck is very abrupt and a drop, and the Premium and the Freedom lines kind of come out and they taper down into the barrel, taper down into the barrel. So you can definitely see a quality difference in the front end of the barrel where it meets the receiver. So we can definitely see that there is a difference there. Alright, we will go ahead and look at the measurements on the front end of those barrels where those tapers are that we just spoke about. So if we start off here with the PTAC, and we will zoom in on that. So here's our PTAC barrel, and if we take a measurement right where the barrel meets the delta ring, we're getting a barrel thickness of 0.97. So 0.97 where the barrel meets the delta ring and the receiver on the PTAC. So we'll zero that again. We'll come down here to the Freedom line, and we're still pretty good in frame there, and we will take and measure the barrel where it meets the delta ring and the receiver, and that is 0.98. 0.98. So we'll come out of there, we will zero. We will now come down here to the Premium line. Calipers are zeroed. We'll measure where the barrel meets the delta ring, and it is 0.98. So it is the same as the Freedom line barrel in that area. Take that off and leave a zero. We will measure right after the shoulder, where the barrel gets to be uniform, is 0.70. 0. Where the barrel becomes uniform after the slope is 0.68 on the Freedom, and 0.66 on the Premium. So here we are on the Premium again. Validate measurements. 0.66. Freedom. 0.68. PTAC. 0.70. 0.70. So fairly uniform between the Freedom and the Premium. Big difference on the PTAC with the taper to the regular barrel size. Now all three barrels after the taper come back down to just in front of the gas block and taper back up into the thicker portion of the barrel. Alright, we're going to measure the barrel just prior to the taper going into the gas block. So on the PTAC barrel, we are at 0.70 just prior to the taper on the front end. On the Freedom barrel, we are 0.68 just prior to the taper on the front end. And on the Premium line barrel, we are 0.60 prior to the taper on the front end. So what we have just seen is that there is a very distinct tapering difference of the barrel on the Premium line. Let's go back. I just need to validate something here, because it struck me as odd that the Premium barrel seems to be thinning out as it goes further down towards the muzzle. So as we come out of the receiver and the taper comes down to the uniform portion of the barrel, I measure 0.66. Now as I come down to the front end of the barrel, where it's just prior to the gas block and the second taper, I measure a 0.60. So quite a bit of difference between here and here. The barrel is actually getting thinner. Then we meet the taper, and past the gas block on the Premium barrel, 0.73. And then out by the muzzle device, we get 0.73. So now we come back up to the Freedom line, and again, first taper after the receiver, 0.68. We come up to the taper just in front of the gas block, and it is 0.67. The barrel just after the gas block, 0.74, and just in front of the muzzle device, 0.68. So not so much of a thinning of the barrel as in the Premium barrel. Very interesting. Now the PTAC, just past the first taper, past the receiver, 0.70, and then just prior to the second taper in the gas block, and that is 0.69, and then right after the gas block, 0.74, followed by just prior to the muzzle device, 0.74. So very interesting. So the PTAC and the Freedom line barrel, though they are different, their measurements are pretty uniform from taper to taper and from beyond the gas block to the muzzle device. Of course, you have the cut here on the Freedom line, which you're going to lose a little size, but they're fairly uniform, these particular two models. The Premium line surprises me. I didn't expect this out of the Premium line. Past the first taper here, the barrel begins to narrow as we move forward towards the gas block. And then it's uniform pretty much to the muzzle device. But very interesting that they've tapered the barrel thickness from this point to this point. Perhaps someone that's going to watch this will be able to educate me as to why they think the Premium barrel has the taper as it does and the other two barrels do not. I would think that a uniform thickness in the barrel would provide more accuracy, especially in the Premium line. So I find that very odd. Hopefully you guys found that informative. I certainly did. I've never taken the time to look at these barrels and see what the differences are. Alright, well, this has been informative for me and very interesting. Hey, until I see you again, this is Toto 2 Bravo, and hopefully you enjoyed this, and thanks for watching.